Good morning. Great to be here today. We have John DePrince, who is from Focal Point Business Coaching for Law Firms. Today is January 22nd at 11:09 a.m. I'm so pleased to have John here today. We're going to be talking about succession planning for lawyers, protection and ongoing safety if something happens at your law firm or to you as the attorney. Um, I'm very excited to connect with John. We met in a networking group, and this topic is particularly important to me, and I'll share why we get through things. But John, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I can share some details. Actually, I'll introduce you because I have some details first. So, John has owned and operated businesses from the fitness industry to the medical industry to legal industries. Most recently, he was director of operations at a 250 person plus law firm, which is very impressive. He believes that small businesses are an integral part of the economy, as do I. Small business is family, small business is real, small businesses are our community. And what's more important for our children, the planet, than having community come together? John focuses on what's really important to businesses. I know that you can bring on a business coach or bring in people that provide vanity metrics, talk about stuff that doesn't matter, but John has the experience to pick out what really matters in a business. Because as all of us business owners know, there's like a gazillion things you can focus on, and it's choosing the thing that has the most impact and the most money. That's what I like to focus on. And he's in Philadelphia. He's a huge Philadelphia sports fan, loves being active, playing hockey and being hiking. And I guess when it's not snowing, it's very cold where you live. Must be a big Patriots fan. That's what someone told me. No, no, you're not a
Hey,
Patriots fan.
no, I'm an
You-
Eagles fan.
You're an Eagles fan. Okay. Well, we'll scratch that from
Patriots
the
up
video.
in Massachusetts, up in
Massachusetts.
New England. No, I'm in right outside of Philadelphia.
I am showing my California naivety by being
Yeah.
here. So scratch that. Um, I asked someone recently what they do in the snow, and they said the Patriots. So you're Eagles. Okay, got it. So why don't you quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the golden hour signature lightning round.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lanny. Yeah. So exactly what you said about my background, but I will tell you it started before actually working. Um, I never liked bad results. And there's nothing worse than coming up with a bad result and not having anything to do about it. So I worked in public accounting right out of college. I didn't like reporting bad numbers. And so it led to being an entrepreneur. And it took me from fitness to medical to legal. And those three industries all have something in common. The people that are involved, the professionals, are really good at what they do, but that does not include running a business, which is a different skill set. So when you build a business, you actually don't build a business, you build people, and they help you build a business. So you have to have a mission, a vision, and a purpose. You have to communicate it to everybody. You have to get people excited, motivated, and on board so that everybody could work together because you can accomplish anything, but everything is not possible. You need help.
Right.
And that's where it starts with the people.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that. And why would you want to do it all by yourself, even if you could? What fun is that? So I
So
feel like, yeah.
yeah, in
Mhm.
reality, I prefer to be part of a team. I like working with the team. I like working with everybody. But now as a coach, I
Mhm.
really get to pick and choose who I work with. I don't have to work with just anybody. I work with people that have a similar mindset, that are
Mhm.
eager to make improvements, that
Mhm.
want to learn, that want to grow, and are like
Mhm.
go-getters. Um,
Mhm.
you know, as a kid, one of my favorite baseball players was Pete Rose.
Mhm.
The reason being is because he hustled all the time. When he
Mhm.
would walk, he didn't walk to base, he would
Mhm.
run to first base. And so that attitude, somebody that
Mhm.
really wants to learn, wants to be successful, and wants to hustle and do a great job, that's kind of what I put into my coaching practice.
Yeah, I love that, Pete Rose. Yeah. You gotta want it, you gotta hustle, right? Because if it was easy, everyone would do it. So they have to
Correct.
come with the attitude, the winning attitude, the to get your hands dirty. So yeah. Okay. So let's jump into the golden hour here. Signature lightning round. Now it's meant to be just kind of quick answers. That's why we call it the
Okay.
lightning round. Try to be as succinct as possible because
Sure.
we've got so much to talk about today. So, what is the best piece of business advice you've ever received, John?
Business systems create consistency and lead to growth.
Hmm. Can you say that again? I really love that one.
Business systems create consistency and lead to growth. And
Oh gosh.
it also talks about like what Ben Franklin said years and years ago. If you don't have a plan, um, plan failure to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah. I say no marketing strategy is just a really bad marketing strategy, right? So same thing. What daily habit or ritual keeps you grounded, John?
I plan every day and I make sure I consistently follow up with clients and contacts in a timely basis. In this day and age where people are disconnected, it's refreshing when people actually return a phone call, an email, a text, and actually follow up with you timely.
That is incredible advice because it doesn't cost you anything to follow up and it has such a huge impact. And you're 100% right. I could talk about that all day.
Mhm.
What's one book, podcast, or resource you recommend to other business owners, John?
Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. It's a quick read, it's a short book, but it really is impactful. It talks about the frog represents difficult, ugly tasks, and a lot of people will shy away and procrastinate. The book talks about doing those tasks first, get them out of the way, and it creates incredible momentum for the rest of your day.
That's amazing. I love that. Brian Tracy is pivotal. Well, he was pivotal in my sales journey, and I love all his books. He's great. Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. What tool or app system do you rely on most in your business?
My CRM, it's
Hmm.
the lifeline between me, my clients, and my contacts, prospects, referral sources,
Hmm.
network partners. It really keeps me tied to them and it
Hmm.
keeps me on tasks with following up purposefully.
Hmm. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're still using an Excel spreadsheet and you don't know what a CRM is, you should reach out to John. Um, he won't get mad at you. He won't judge you.
No, not at all.
Not at all. And we all know that people are still managing things through spreadsheets. What would you do with that time back for your family? What's a lesson you've learned the hard way but are grateful for?
That's a great question. And I was thinking about that. And it really boils down to this. Not every opportunity is the right one. It has to align with your values and your goals. And activity is important because if you have the wrong opportunity, it will just stunt you.
Not everything is the right fit, right? That's good. That's good. And then our last question here for the lightning round, which is not so lightning, but it's hard because it's so juicy. What's the most what's the most rewarding part of your work you do today, John?
The most rewarding part is I get to coach people to help them grow their business, be successful, employ staff that has a positive impact on families. And in the end, it helps a community to thrive. And
Mhm.
that's, we said in the beginning, that's what it's all about, helping communities thrive.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, great. That was really great answers. Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
Let's jump in to the core topic today, which is succession planning for attorneys or lawyers and law firms. And why don't you start out today, John, with what is a succession plan? Like lay it out simply for us. And I like to call it monkey easy, right? Like I read recently, like a person that can distill a topic down in its simplest form is the most intelligent and really understands it. Because when someone uses fancy words or things like that, that means they're not able to communicate. So, not putting you on a test, but having simplifying something that's complex is very helpful.
Yes, yeah. So a succession plan is really a business plan that helps prepare the next generation of attorneys. And what I mean by that is you'll have an attorney that's a big originator, brings in a lot of work. He needs to protect his clients, his practice, and his or her legacy by identifying and naming who will take over if something happens. It could be a planned retirement. It could be something happens, uh, you know, spontaneously, spur of the moment, where an attorney can no longer practice law and he or she needs somebody, they need to designate somebody that takes over in case of an emergency.
That's amazing. I love that. Um, and does it have to do with just like the people that are running the firm, or it's a whole business plan? So it has to do with like more than just the people, right? It's the internal workings of the law firm, processes, things of that nature, or is it just the people?
No, it's both.
Yeah.
But really, when you start a succession plan, the
Mhm.
attorney that has all the clients or has a good number of clients would want to identify all those clients. So
Mhm.
there's a worksheet that would be involved, identifying the clients, who the
Mhm.
point of contact is, what type of business they're in. And
Mhm.
you also grade the clients, an A client, a B client, a C client. What amount of business did that client generate for the firm last year, 2 years ago? What's the projected revenue going forward? Then there's also identifying where all the documents are stored. There could be physical files, there could be electronic files, and having access to those client files, all done with permission by the clients of the attorney and also of the attorney that's going to be working in case of an emergency. Everybody on the same page, a documented plan that's communicated so that the clients are protected. And that's the bottom line, protecting the clients.
And the partners. So can you talk a little bit more about like what specific, you can say general, but for a solo, like a solo attorney versus like a partnership, can you talk a little bit about what's different if it's just one attorney working by themselves or a partnership or a larger law firm?
Yeah, so a solo practitioner, it's more challenging because they basically have done everything themselves. Hopefully, they have an administrative assistant that knows basically the ins and outs of the practice and is familiar with all the clients and they secure all the documents, whether it's electronic or physical. But if something happened, that solo practitioner's clients would not be protected. So, to help a solo practitioner, how I would help them was identify somebody outside that has a similar practice, that has a similar background that would be utilized as in case of emergency. There's also the ability to bring on a younger associate attorney to join the practice because this attorney who's built up a big practice, there's value there and can help him grow, he or she grow their practice with the addition of another attorney. It's all about protecting clients, protecting the practice, and the legacy.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so that was mostly for the solo. What about like a two, three, four person partnership? You kind of went over that, but what is this? Give us some data points on a succession plan for like maybe a 20-person law firm or a larger one.
Yeah, so there's a good chance that there's attorneys there that can do the work in case something happened, but you would want to have a documented plan because No plan does not work. A plan spells everything out from the clients, but also with a plan, you can create compensation. There could be compensation for the attorney that's retiring. There could be compensation for the attorney that's going to be the successor in the future. And it really creates more value. And then it also ensures the legacy and the continuation of that firm. Not every small firm is set up to have more than one attorney that does a specific type of work. So best practice would be to bring in somebody else that can step in case of emergency.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And now I'm kind of hearing why it's like a business plan because you're documenting all of those metrics. Um, so the next question I have here is like, what's the impact of not having a succession plan for a solo? Like what, or and then we'll get into the partnership, but like say someone's running a solo family law firm with 20 clients and then one day they die. Like what's the impact of that?
That's a good question. And I can tell you that's how I really got into this as a coach. So, working as a regional director at a law firm, I created a succession plan for a big originator. And it changed a bunch of times because a few attorneys left and the new attorneys joined the firm. When I started working as a coach, I got connected to two attorneys through a networking group in Pennsylvania. And they said there's a big need in Pennsylvania because there's a lot of older attorneys and not a lot of younger attorneys. And there's a gap there. And what happens is if an attorney does not have a succession plan, which part of your ongoing registration for being an attorney in good standing in PA, you have to list a successor because if an attorney does not have a succession plan and that attorney can no longer practice law, that practice falls into conservatorship. And I wasn't aware of this. The attorneys that I met through networking group, they told me about this issue. And what happens is practice falls into conservatorship. Now the state has to step in and find attorneys for those clients, and it costs the state time and money. So the risk of not having a plan is client disruption, ethical exposure, financial loss, and internal confusion. So that's why, as a coach, I started connecting with bar associations to do workshops all on succession planning to protect practices, attorneys, and clients.
Wow. So the impact is like the government, can you repeat that part, that specific part that the government has to pay for stuff? The clients are at risk? Like,
Yes, yes. So the practice will fall into conservatorship.
okay, yeah.
And now the state has to find attorneys for the clients, and it would cost
Mm,
the state money and time.
yeah. Time, yeah. Inefficiency. Any, yeah, I don't, that, if I was a solo or someone was a solo divorce attorney and they had 10 clients and they're middle of divorces and the attorney passes away or dies, that's very inconvenient for the client.
And let me clarify, when I mean the state, I mean the Pennsylvania Bar Association.
Okay.
Yeah, not the state federal, not the state government.
Okay.
Pennsylvania Bar Association. Let me
Okay.
clarify. The Pennsylvania
Okay.
Bar Association.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that was about the solo and the partnership. It's the same for both in this instance. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Hmm. Okay.
Here's the interesting thing about a solo practitioner. They might practice more than one type of law. They might do some real estate transactions. They could do estates and trust work. They could do some business,
Mhm.
other transactional
Mhm.
work.
Mhm. Mhm.
They could may even do some like business litigation.
Mhm.
But if they touch more than one practice area, it would be hard to find somebody that can step into their shoes.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a security issue too. I mean, what if there's like, I'm talking about the lawyers that we work with that are very successful. They have CRMs, right? They track, they
Mhm.
use Clio, they use different things.
Yeah.
Like, how is someone that's going to be assigned, like, what do they do? Like, hack into their Clio and like try to break into the computer to get the intel? Like, it seems like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. And I will say a lot of solo practitioners do have like an administrative assistant. So they would
Mhm.
be the like gatekeeper of all the information, but there would have to be a plan in place because there's ethical issues.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people now are hiring people overseas, like from the Philippines, right? Like in my business networking now, I've heard four people in the last couple weeks say, "Oh yeah, I do virtual placement from people in the Philippines," right? So like if the lawyer's using someone in the Philippines and they die, like I guess they have to contact the placement firm, or some people are going direct, right? They use something like
Mhm.
Upwork, or they do it through Craigslist, or they're not using someone to find the people in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So that's pretty messy. Um, okay, interesting here. Um, So I'm looking at a slide here that, and we'll put this in the video. Succession planning is a business issue. Firm valuation, partner confidence, recruiting, retention, long-term suitability. Do you want to comment on that? Because I think firm valuation is important, especially when we're working with our law firms. We're creating an online lead pipeline for them because some of the younger generation doesn't know how to do business development in person.
Mhm.
And so we're building that pipeline online for them. So when the principal attorney retires in 5 years, we've created a pipeline that's going to keep business coming into the business over time. Sometimes when the attorney wants to retire or sell it, we're working with a client right now who's buying another firm to bring into their estate planning practice. Firm valuation is important, right? Because you don't want to pay
Mhm.
more for something that's not worth. So let's dig into that for a minute because I find that stimulating in terms of value, worth, ownership. We're dealing with ownership a lot, right? People rent their websites from marketing law firms. They don't own their URLs, they don't own their content, they don't know that they're renting it. And I always say that not having ownership of your brand and your assets has a valuation impact, right? Because if you don't own the name and all that, you know what I'm saying? So talk to me about the firm valuation and how succession planning is with that.
You know, it's interesting that you brought that up because I was coaching one of my clients today, a
Yeah.
solo practitioner who is an intellectual property attorney, and we talked
Hmm.
about the same thing about protecting the brand. And there's value in that brand, in the trademarks and all the intellectual property. So
Right.
the reason a succession plan is a business issue is because the succession plan, if properly done, or excuse me, when properly done, protects the ongoing work for the firm with those clients, with the successor. And so, therefore, the clients will not leave the firm because their attorney can't practice anymore. They'll work with the next generation. And next generation can bring in their own clients and then they can continue to work with the clients that are left behind. It just keeps the firm moving forward and growing and increasing the value. The other thing it does, it
Hmm.
ensures the people that are at the firm, the employees, whether they're administrative assistants, paralegals, um, other attorneys, that the firm will experience continuity. Things will go on. People will say, we're protected here. If something happened to the big originator, we're going to be okay. We're going to continue on the business. Some firms, if they don't have this protection, this succession plan in place, something happens to the big originator, where's the work going to go?
Also, too, does the succession plan have any impact on this scenario? This is what I hear attorneys say when they're dissatisfied with the current conditions of the law firm. They say, I checked with all my clients. I'm going to start my own law firm. I'm going to go to a new law firm and I'm going to bring all my clients with me to the new law firm. I'm going to take them from the one I'm at. Is that a whole separate subject or is that part of this succession planning?
No, that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue. And the attorney that wants to leave the firm and start their own, they just are not aligned with the values of the firm, the
Mhm,
mission, the vision, the purpose. They
mhm,
became an attorney for their own set of reasons, and it's not
mhm,
being met where they are. So they
mhm,
think that, hey, I'll just bring all my clients with me and I'll
mhm,
start my own firm, which
mhm,
is a great opportunity, but now you have to realize you're more than just practicing law. You're running a business and you're going to have a whole different set of challenges. But
mhm,
the good news is they get to set the tone for what they want their firm to look and feel like.
mhm. Yeah, that's the whole premise is like just because you know how to do the thing doesn't mean you know how to run a business that does the thing.
Correct.
It's two separate things, and a lot of attorneys, we're talking about attorneys, we love attorneys, but they get in that trap. Why do I was in a meeting with one a while ago. I started this law firm to help people. Why do I have to talk about marketing? Why do I have to talk about HR? Why do I have to keep interviewing people to work at my law firm? Why do I have to look at software for my client intake? And I was thinking to myself, because you're the principal attorney, it's your law firm, you're the CEO. People don't say CEO of law firms, but you're the CEO of the law firm. You got to do all that stuff. So stop complaining about the job that you signed up for, you know?
Yeah, well, I will tell you this, though, as a coach,
You can't say that.
he or she doesn't need to do all of that. They can have people help them so that they can focus on still growing their firm. But you have to be able to let go and trust people and have them report back to you. But you don't have to do everything because as a coach, anything is possible, everything is not. So you have to work with people. And that's why I started out by saying you need to work with people.
Yeah, and as a business owner, I know that delegating is a key. So that was another layer when I was listening to this conversation saying why not just that why are you doing it, but why don't you delegate it, you know, because
Hmm.
you can't do everything yourself and do it well, you know, but it's interesting that you bring up the point that this is kind of off it a little bit, but like you need to have a staff that you can trust, right? And staffing is a huge issue, right? Because you can't trust everybody. And so, you know, a business is only a business because of the people, right? Or partially because of the people. And that you have to have a good set of people around you that you can trust before you can really do anything. So, I don't know if you have any comments on the people part.
Yeah, actually, I do. I do have. So my father a long time ago said, your biggest asset are your people, but they're also going to be your biggest headache. So when you are hiring people, when you're looking to attract great staff, you have to do a good job of communicating your values, your mission, your vision, your purpose. And you want to find people that are in line with what you want to accomplish. And I will tell you, I see it fall apart during the interview process. During an interview process, people will ask questions about skill and knowledge. Well, that's great, but success, 85% of success is based on attitude. And during the interview, they don't ask questions about attitude. You want to hire people that are go-getters, that are resilient, that want to grow and learn. You can teach people skill and knowledge, but if they don't have the right attitude, it's going to be hard for them to be successful. So I would consider changing your interview process to get the people They're going to help you grow your business, but do it in a way that is in line with your values.
That's like gold right there.
Yep.
And you
And I'll
help.
tell you, I didn't create this myself. It was based on what I've learned at Focal Point, and it's called the Carnegie Triangle. The Carnegie Institute did a study. And if you think about highly successful companies, businesses, people, come up with adjectives. A lot of them are going to be based on attitude. Even take somebody like Michael Jordan. He's a hard worker, highly skilled. He's
Yeah,
very competitive. He's a go-getter. He never quits. He always
yeah,
wants to win. All based
right,
on attitude.
right. Yeah, we for California, we've got Steph Curry on the Warriors.
Yes, that all right, there you go. Steph Curry. Great
Steph
player,
Curry
but
here,
he's a
yeah.
great player because of his attitude, his
Yeah,
desire to win, his desire to get better. He's
yeah,
highly skilled.
yeah,
He wasn't, skilled
yeah.
from the beginning. He had to work hard to get there. And
He's not the tallest guy on the team either.
no, work ethic, that's an attitude.
Work ethic is an attitude. It's like, yeah, attitude can't be taught, but pressing the buttons can be. So I like that a lot because we interview a lot of people, and attitude is a good reminder because things are evolving so quickly with software and new AI things coming out that if we have someone that has a good attitude and a commitment to excellence, then they would be a good fit, even if they don't know how to do the things, click up or whatever. So that's a good reminder for me, John.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, getting around people that trust you. Um, so this one, we kind of went over this already, but here's a summary. The holistic view of the succession plan is a business plan, a legal plan, an IT and data access plan. I love that so much. We went over that. So the common triggers that require a plan, retirement or step back. We talked about that a bit. Sudden death, illness, succession plan readiness checklist. So let's talk about that because we didn't haven't talked about this at all here. So a designated successor or successors identified, a client communication protocol, access to files, leadership, financial and valuation staff roles. We were just talking about the insurance and funding. Why don't you talk a little bit about that list there? And I'm going to keep it off the screen because when we're recording and we focus on the screen, it makes us little and then it screws up the whole video.
Okay.
So, um, you want to go just briefly go over the readiness checklist. This would be something good that people can do on their own if they're not ready to hire you yet. This would be something that they could start thinking about on their own.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
created the readiness checklist just to have people start to think. You need to document and create a plan, but the most important part is just get started. So, big originator, good book of business, you're not going to be around forever, but there's
No one
also
is.
the just in case something happens. So you would want to start to name people and bring them into, hey, if something happened to me, here's these five clients. I let them know that you're my backup in case something happens. So let's start that process. Create a spreadsheet, put down all the clients and identify people that would take over in case something happened. So start that process. And then the client communication protocol. So if something happened, the successor would be responsible for contacting the clients. And because if it was an emergency and something happened all of a sudden, I would highly recommend a conversation, a phone call. Something happened, so and so cannot practice law anymore. No need to worry. I'm going to take care of you to make the client feel that they're going to be taken care of and let them know that they're in good hands now. So there's a plan that is in place there. And then access to the files in the systems. A lot of attorneys have electronic files, but some attorneys from had clients 5, 10, 15 years ago, there might be paper files. Where are they? Where are they? I know the law firm I worked at, they had a basement, a huge, 5, 6,000 square foot room with all kinds of bankers boxes. I mean, good
Right.
luck finding a document if you needed it real fast. So identify where all the electronic and physical files are. And then if it was a leader within the firm, it was a leader at the firm, who's going to step into that person's shoes? Who's going to assume leadership responsibilities? Who's going to make sure that the firm is going to continue to move forward? Who is that person? You do all this, keep the firm value up, keep the firm growing, keep it increasing in value. And then when you have a plan in place and everybody feels secure, even if somebody is no longer here, the people that are left behind, the staff, they feel confident. All right, the firm's in good hands. We're secure, business as usual. We're going to continue working and we're going to make sure that the work is supported. And that helps keep people in place.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing worse than when something happens and people don't know, they start to panic and they're like, I need to start to look for another job. The continuity and the plan and the continuity keeps people confident that things are going to be okay. And then also there's an insurance part of this, which I'm not an insurance broker, but I've heard people talk about this, buy-sell agreements. A successor, a survivor. If it's a partnership of 2, 3 attorneys, something happens to one key employee, there's an insurance policy that kicks in and will compensate the attorney's family and also help with the buy-sell agreement. I do work with somebody who does buy-sell agreements, so
Sure.
they would be able to describe all the particulars of a buy-sell agreement. I'm not an insurance professional.
Right. Well, that's really useful information. Um, and I'll put the slide in the video so people can look into that. Um, I really like the retention plan associated. We haven't talked about that, but that goes back to the human capital. I don't like that word, but that's what people use. The
Hmm.
human people, the people that are at the firm, right? It's how do you make them comfortable? How can you make them feel like they're in the right place? We have law firms that we work with that people have been there for 15 years, and that's what you want, right? Because that would be the best case scenario. So as an employee, knowing my law firm would have a succession plan would make me feel a lot more comfortable, especially when you're young, you're supporting a family, and there's so much instability out in the world today, people working here in tech, things like that. The vibe out there is people are a little nervous sometimes about jobs and things. So that's something I definitely wouldn't have thought of, staff roles and retention plans with the succession plan. I would, from laypersons, I was like, oh, what do you do when someone dies, right? But it's so much more than that.
Hmm.
So I think that's really interesting here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you're right. It is the human side of business.
Yeah.
The human side of business is still important.
I mean, it's the whole thing because without them, we can't serve our clients.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I like this last slide here. We're coming up on the hour. See, there's like so many juicy things to talk about, right?
Hmm.
Readiness reflection questions. Could someone step in tomorrow if needed? Are your clients protected without disruption? Would the firm retain its value? Is leadership being developed today? Why don't we talk about this before we close up a bit?
Yes. So I put these questions together
Mhm.
because it starts people thinking. And that's the most important thing is to start to think and
Mhm.
then take action.
Mm.
So I've heard somebody say this before. When's the best time to plant a tree?
Haha, I love this question.
Right? It was 20 years ago. When's
Right.
the next best time? Today.
Yesterday. Yeah.
Or yeah, yeah, today,
Today.
yesterday,
Yeah.
tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's really what it is. It's about taking action and protecting the clients and the firm. And so ask yourself, are your clients protected without disruption if something happened tomorrow? That's a good question. And would the firm retain its value? And is leadership being developed? So the last one is leadership being developed. That is a key component because when somebody's no longer around at a firm, who's stepping into their shoes? Who's assuming a leadership role? Who's going to right the ship? Who's going to keep the ship on course? Ship meaning the firm. Who's going to keep it on course? Who's going to keep everybody calm and productive if something happens?
Right.
Like, why do we have fire drills? Right? In case something happens, everybody's going to stay calm and evacuate the building. But if you don't practice that, if you don't develop a system, a process, and something happens, there's going to be chaos. This prevents chaos.
And people like to lean into chaos, collective chaos. We were just talking about that earlier. It's really easy just to plant one little seed and then the whole firm just germinates into chaos, right? One little idea, one little, thing can really set off the whole firm, people talking runs rampant, so you have to really protect it like a living organism, make sure that you're taking care of it.
I think that's true of any business.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, look, it boils down to you hire the right people, you give them the right tools, resources, and support to be successful. And do you value their efforts? Do you value their contribution? Because in
Mhm.
the end, everybody wants to be seen, heard, and valued.
Mhm.
You do that, use please and thank you, show appreciation, display empathy. You're going to get the right people helping you, and then you'll grow your business, whether it's a accounting firm, a law firm, a medical practice, no matter what type of business, you're employing people and you have to connect with them.
Mhm.
And that's what a succession plan does. It keeps people connected and it makes sure that the firm and the clients are protected.
Mhm. Yeah. And from a business perspective, you have to connect with your team and your clients, right? So this is
Mhm.
a separate subject, but as you grow, and this is something you probably work on as you grow I'm the principal of a law firm, let's say, and it's growing to 18 attorneys. How do I connect with each one of the attorneys? How do I stay communicating with them so I know that they're trustworthy? And that's part of the coaching that you work on, right? Is that you can still stay connected without being in their face.
Yes, you can still stay connected. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can do nice things and have conversations with people, know them personally so that everybody's vested in doing a good job and being successful.
Yeah. And all that starts with the principal attorney making a succession plan, because after this conversation today, John, seems very irresponsible to not have one on so many labels. And I think that people, law firms, owners aren't properly educated on the impact of what's going to happen, what could happen, and what could happen if they don't do this. And so I think, what is it, cognitive dissonance? People are like, is that the right term for it? People are like, yeah, I know that's bad for me, but I just do it anyway because I don't think about it, you know?
Yeah, it goes back to eat the frog. People put it off. People shy away or procrastinate something that might be difficult. And in reality, you just need to get started.
Yeah, rip off the Band-Aid.
Yep, just get started.
Just get started, and just get started taking baby steps. people could get started today by reaching out to you. So how should people reach out to you, John?
Well, they can connect with me through email,
Hmm.
jdeprince at focalpointcoaching.com, or you
Hmm.
can visit my website at john.deprince at
Hmm.
focalpointcoaching.com.
Hmm.
And then I'm also a call away,
Hmm. What's your phone number?
610-952-4047.
Okay, great. And I'll put that all in the show notes too. But um, you focus on not just succession plans, but helping lawyers with running their business as well, right? So if someone needs help with just running their business, you can talk to them too.
Yes, I help attorneys run their practice like a business. I
Okay.
work with associate attorneys on how to grow their practice and
Hmm.
balance between billable hours and plans of what they want their practice to look like in 2, 3 years from now. And also, I help associate attorneys with leadership skills. And I
Great.
do one-on-one coaching for managing partners, and I do a lot of group coaching. I find groups are great to work with because I present a lot of the information. It's interactive. They gain insights, they take action, and then the group also helps each other because it stimulates a conversation. We talk about learning topics, and it really helps out everybody to learn in a safe, fun environment.
Cool. I love group stuff. Well, we're at the top of the hour. What an interesting conversation. I have such an appreciation now for the succession plan. I understand it so much more and the importance of it. Thank you so much for your input and for doing this, John, because it's important.
Lainey, thank you very much. It was great connecting with you. I appreciate the
Yeah.
opportunity to join the golden hour.
Yeah.
And I thought the conversation, the interaction was good.
Yeah.
It was really nice meeting you, and I look forward to staying in touch with you
Yeah.
and seeing how this podcast turns out.
Yeah. Me too. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lainey.